This is James. James is a freelance graphic designer. Jane and Linda. They are architects. What is the difference between freelancers and self-employed people? Sole proprietorship. There are three types of companies with limited liability. Inc. stands for incorporated. So now let's talk about mutuals. Demutualization, nonprofit organizations. Joint stock corporations are акционерные общества in Russian. Hey guys, welcome back to my business English lessons, and today's lesson is going to be really interesting because we're going to be talking about different types of organizations. Let's go. So let's start with freelancers, sole proprietors, and the self-employed. Who these people are, what they do, so let's get going. This is James. James is a freelance graphic designer, so he is a freelancer. All right, people such as designers and journalists are usually called freelancers. We talked about it in lesson 7. But tutors and plumbers are usually called self-employed. Now I have a question. What is the difference between freelancers and self-employed people? Freelancers are independent people who work for several different companies, while the self-employed are the people who work for themselves, and that's all. They all can be sole proprietors. All right, sole proprietor in Russian, this is called индивидуальный предприниматель. The other noun for this one is sole proprietorship. Это индивидуальное предпринимательство. То есть мы имеем два существительных здесь. Одно обозначает человека, sole proprietor, а другое обозначает деятельность, sole proprietorship. So now let's get a little bit bigger and we'll talk about partnerships and companies. Here we also have some characters, Jane and Linda. They are architects. They have their own architecture partnership. Jane and Linda are partners, and their partnership has limited liability. What does it mean? For example, if their partnership goes bankrupt, if it loses all its money, the partners lose only a limited amount of assets, a limited amount of their money. The partners are not personally responsible for the company's losses. For example, if you set up a business and let's say you have this limited liability and you get many debts, your customers or clients cannot take your private property. For example, your own car, your house, or anything like that. You will lose only the money and property that your partnership has. There are three types of companies with limited liability. For example, limited liability partnerships, LLP, or limited liability companies, LLC, and of course corporations. So limited liability partnership. This is the system that Jane and Linda have. So it's clear. Limited liability company. For example, John Robertson is managing director of a small electronics company called Advanced Components Ltd. Ltd means limited. You have to include this abbreviation in your company name. Then we have corporation. There's a lot of corporations. For example, here I have Howard Schultz. He is president of Starbucks Incorporated. Inc. stands for incorporated. This shows that it is a company with limited liability. But some British companies have the abbreviation PLC. This stands for Public Limited Company. This is the equivalent of a US corporation. So now let's talk about mutuals. What are they? Well, some companies, for example, insurance companies, are called mutuals. This means that the people who buy insurance become the company's members, and in theory, they receive a share of the profits generated by this company. In Britain, there are mutuals called building societies. They lend money to people who want to buy a house. A lot of mutual companies are changing into public limited houses in Britain and joint stock corporations in the US. Joint stock corporations are акционерные общества in Russian. And this process is called demutualization. And the verb is to demutualize. So our last stop for today is nonprofit organizations. They are companies with social aims. For example, helping the sick, the poor, the disabled. They can be called nonprofit organizations or sometimes not-for-profit organizations. So these companies aren't founded to make profit. They are also called charities, благотворительные фонды или благотворительные организации. These companies form the voluntary sector. Not-for-profit organizations heavily rely on volunteers. And some charities put a lot of effort into fundraising activities. These activities encourage people to give or donate money, clothes, food, or time to help the organization. Of course, these donations are essential, are very important for the organization to do its work well. So that's all for now. Congratulations and thank you very much for watching this video. Please like this video if you learned at least one new word today, and don't forget to check out my Telegram channel. We can find lots of information about me in my YouTube channel. Of course, to make the knowledge complete, please go to my Business English course and practice what you've just learned. Thanks a lot and see you in my next videos. Bye.